Good afternoon to you. Welcome to the programme, which this afternoon is at Braaid.
And I'm Christy DeHaven.
And this is the first in our series where we're going to be going around village halls in the Isle of Man. And this idea came to us because of the UK's inaugural Village Hall Week. And we asked listeners to let us know about their village halls, let us know about the hubs of their community. And Christy, we were absolutely overwhelmed with the response.
We had so many messages from people, and this was January last year. And people do still use these village halls. They are absolutely still the hub of the community on the Isle of Man. So many things take place here. You know, everything from Tai Chi to art classes, from crafting to concerts, all sorts of things.
And we are at Braaid Village Hall, which was founded in 1937. Let's find out a little bit more about the history of this place then, shall we? We go in because we're standing outside at the moment, and this really is like a secret cave, isn't it? Because you drive past this if you're going on the back road there from Douglas, up from the Braaid Crossroads, and really you would have no idea what goes on in here. But I have got plenty of people here who do know. There is a little hum here.
We can hear people chatting.
So we've got all sorts of guests. We're going to be talking about something very exciting, which is happening tomorrow, which is a highlight of the community calendar here.
Absolutely, because of course one of the things that we do very well on the Isle of Man is our concerts. And so that's why we have come to the Braaid Hall to launch this Village Hall series, because of course at the Braaid Village Hall, in just 24 hours time, just over 24 hours time, one of the key concerts in the Manx community calendar will be happening here at this very hall, because it is of course tomorrow night the Braaid Eisteddfod.
Oh my goodness, so many stories come out of that. It does feel like lots of things go on behind closed doors for that event. We're going to be talking more about that a little bit later. But with us now is Dot Tilbury. And Dot, I was talking a little bit about the history of this event and the fact that some of the people that we've got here today are very much connected with the start of Braaid Hall, and you are no exception.
Well, I'm no exception, because my father, Percy Kelly, was a founder member, and he was a member of the football team, believe it or not. They had a ladies' team and a men's team, and my father, I think he was one of the good fellas, you know, he could have been in Everton or somewhere. But the Braaid Hall, this Braaid Hall was built in 1937, and it was known as the Braaid Young Men's Club, and women were admitted by invitation only. Can you imagine? They were all right to do the dishes. That's what they said.
What made you special enough as a woman to get an invite then?
Well, yeah, to do the dishes.
That was it? You just had to be really good at cleaning?
No other reason. Set the table and do the dishes.
Good with the fairy and a sponge.
And the thing is, actually, that didn't change until fairly recently. Well, it certainly wasn't changed on the books until fairly recently.
1990. Never. We're at altitude up here, you see, and we haven't heard of Brexit up here, thank God. But anyway, I've just got a few little notes. They had a football team, they played billiards and darts, and we think December the 7th, 1937, was the first to Eisteddfod. And so there was a bus that came out from Douglas that cost the committee £1 to bring people out from Douglas, and then they had bachelors' tea parties and concerts, and the men waited on, which was very un-PC for those days, wasn't it? The men waiting on. And my Nana Kelly, who lived down the road in Ballacunna Cottages, she used to bring all her cups and saucers up in a big galvanised can thing, and because they had no cups and saucers, so everybody brought their cups and saucers from home to you know, for the social nights. So it was great. And then 30 years ago, the Braaid was in a bit of a mess, and the committee decided then that they would sort of build it. The roof was leaking, the floor was bad, and the Manx Lottery helped out. So it saved the Braaid Hall, the Manx Lottery, so we're very grateful to the lottery funding. And then, of course, once a year we have all sorts. We have the Eisteddfod, which is sort of the highlight, and we've got some of the stars of the Eisteddfod here today. And we've got bingo, which we have at Christmas and Easter. And we've got the conker competition, which you're not allowed to hold anywhere else in the world. So ours is the World Championship. Hop Tune, we have, you know, the hall's open to rent for night rallies, birthday parties, liquidator meetings, believe it or not. There's a few of those about. Art lessons, craft meetings. And of course, we have the cycling up here, the indoor turbo session of cycling. every Thursday night from Christmas right through to November through to March. So it's a busy little place.
It really is, Dot, and we'll come back to the Eisteddfod and some of the events a little bit later on, but the thing I want to pick up on that you're just saying there, you're talking about family and saying, you know, Nana live around the corner, that seems to be a key factor in this area, is that it's very much a community, but also family. Everyone seems to be, you know, sort of somehow linked to each other, which is fantastic.
Well, like Jimmy Duncan, we're into bread.
I didn't want to say that, Dot.
So, Dot, what's your first memory of Braaid Hall?
Well, coming up for the Eisteddfod, because as a child, I used to do all the Eisteddfods, Salisbury Street, what was Trinity known as? Bucks Road. Yes, because they changed their name. They went posh.
For the
Trinity.
uninitiated, how would you describe an Eisteddfod?
An Eisteddfod is you just turn up, and if you've got a poem or a song to sing or an instrument to play, they used to have spelling bees, quizzes, and I used to go with the Ellises from Ballygarry. They had a dormobile, and we used to go, we were like the mafia, we used to go everywhere and try and get as many certificates as we could, and I could sing a bit in those days. I haven't got...
You can still sing. You can
No,
still
I
sing,
can
Dot.
hold a tune, but I can't sing.
Right, hold it in your pocket. Dot, come over here, because you, again, we're talking about the sort of links here, and you were talking about your father. There are some wonderful framed photos here just as you come into the Braaid Hall. Just tell us who some of these people are.
Well, the fella you want to tell you who the people are, I recognise my father in the middle here. He looks very smart in his demob suit. And Bob Quay, who's a relation. And there's Harry Glaister, there's me, Bobby Gray, Winnie Gray's husband, and I don't know who these old fellas are because they're very old, but they'll be all the committee members and everything, and as I say, of course there's no women, but this Kenny Quay's the fella. Kenny, just come down here a minute.
Oh, we've managed to get... Oh, she's good at dragging him in. He said, I don't want to speak, but Dot's very persuasive,
he knows
Kenny.
Everything. This was the opening laying of the...
Yeah.
And who's that lady there?
Miss Kelly, I think it was, gave the land, I think.
Yes, so she put on her best bib and took her and came and laid the first stone. And then, of course, they had horses and carts to level out the ground and everything. And then, once it was all built, and then well, I didn't refurbish it, but they refurbished it 30 years ago. And then Mr. Walter Gilby kindly sold us a piece of land at the side there for extra car park for £1.
Oh,
So there you go.
Some good being done there, which
Yes,
is...
so
which
it is
yeah.
very much a community, and but there's places left in the Isle of Man still like that, out at Dorby and Braaid and
Well,
places.
this is what we're hoping to discover in this Village Hall series. And we should just say as well, because all of the stuff that Dot's talking about now, I know, you might think, oh, radio, we can't see. But if you go over to Facebook, our Ben is here with the camera, and he is Facebooking this as well, so you can see everything that we're talking about on there as well.
This is what you call a podcast.
it will be available as a podcast as well.
Oh, she's
I've
good.
heard that
You
name.
are.
I didn't know what it was.
You're very technological, Dot.
You can go onto the Manx Radio website and you'll be able to download it from the podcast section. But, Dot, can you introduce us to some of the other people that we've got here today?
Now then, this fella here, he's another cousin. This is John Quay. Now, he was the treasurer for 25 years. Was it 25 years?
About that, yes.
Yes.
The 16th,
So John's got a few
the
things
5th
to
of
tell.
November 1970, I was appointed. And the first job we had was the annual tombola. And we got a list of the prizes and the costs. And we gave away some marvellous stuff. The first prize was a 10 guinea voucher. That's £10 and 10 shillings to the uninitiated. But we also gave away 100 cigarettes. Not very PC these days. £1, 7 shillings and 11 pence for 100 cigarettes. What's that, about £1.35 in modern money?
Or 3 vapes.
Yes. 100 weight of coal, a pedal bin, a frying pan. We gave some wonderful prizes away.
Was that just for the women, though?
The tombola was one of our good fundraisers. That particular night we raised £85 for club funds, which was what we used to keep the club going.
And how important is fundraising still now?
It's very important because the club has to maintain the clubhouse. And one thing we have now that we never had years ago is central heating. And when I first joined, when I was 14, I used to come up from St Mark's on my push bike. There was a bunch of us. And just over in the corner there was a solid fuel heater that took about 2 hours to get lit. And by the time it put any heat out, it was time to go home. So then we got one of these big industrial heaters like they use in garages, and we put a hole in the wall from the cloakroom. And,
All high tech.
And we'd have that going. You couldn't hear yourself think. It was like a jet engine. And anyway, the fire people used to come round to do the fire inspection. And somebody would get the word to come and open the hole up, but they'd come down an hour earlier to hide the heater because it was somewhat illegal, I think. Anyway, now we've got central heating and we've got curtains, and it's a nice place to be now, but it was a cold old spot when I was a young fella.
And you're referring to some of the stuff here that's in a book in front of you, because it's fabulous. Everyone today has brought down some sort of literature or history or memento. We've got trophies, we've got photographs, we've got a sort of tiny suitcase full of press cuttings, because it seems like everyone throughout the years has been very proud of what's been going on here, John.
Yes, we have, yes. Well, it's community, like Dot said. You know, we all know each other if we're not related to each other. And we've been coming here for years.
Very thin line.
Well, I've been coming here. I won't tell you how old I am, but I've been coming here for 50 years anyway. You know, it's been a great place, the hall, and we've had some great events. And my parents, would you believe, actually had their wedding reception in here. Dot was saying about the various events we've had, and my children have had christening parties here, and I'm sure we must have had a wake or two, Dot, haven't we?
Oh, I would think so, yes. There's nothing we've missed, really.
No.
Do far more than the villa.
But the village itself then, because obviously this is right at the centre of the community of the village itself, what are some of the major changes since you've been here, John?
Well, there's not much change, fortunately, because the Braaid hasn't changed. There's not been any developments to speak of. The chapel went, unfortunately, when they widened the road, and the smithy's gone, but there's not much new development around here, really. The community stayed much the same. We all live within a few miles of the place, and
there's a good reason why there's not much changes, and I'll just go and get a poem which was written by Pat Quay, which John is going to say.
All right,
and
okay.
It's why the Braaid has never changed. So talk amongst yourselves.
And John, I mean, this is all about community, as you say, and almost that belonging to a family.
That's right, yeah. Well, the pictures on the wall you see there, you see Kenny's dad, who's my great-uncle, and Harold, who's my grandfather. And then on the women's football team is Kathleen Kane, who played in the team. She's my father's sister. So there's lots of us around here, and like I say, we all know each other. So.
And Dot's just bringing over another one of these wonderful framed photographs.
Uncle Bob, and then... there's Harold, my grandfather, and Kathleen, and Nina. What relation is Nina to us?
She's a cousin of my father's.
Cousin. So,
and I remember her in the Gaiety one night, and she was sitting on the front row at Raise the Roof. Do you remember that, Alan, for Trinity Church? Yeah. And they were raising money to get a new roof on Trinity Church, and Nina fell asleep. It was that good.
Well, we're going to be talking to some of the other guests that we have here at the Braaid this afternoon. But John, to lead us into a quick break, can you read Auntie Pat's poem?
This is Auntie Pat was my aunt. She was my father's sister, and she wrote quite a lot of poems and songs, and she played the accordion, and we missed her a lot at the Eisteddfod. So this is her poem that she wrote about the Braaid. We haven't got a sunset like they brag about in Peel, and the miners never thought of coming here to build their wheel. And Castle Rushen wasn't built to guard the Braaid, I hear. They looked and said, well, who the heck would want to conquer here? Now Dalby, they have got their spook and Ronagh treacle mines. Them north ones brag, the sun on Ramsey Town, it always shines. Well, here the snow stays longer, and the winds howl from the coast. We get the thickest mist you've ever seen, but we don't boast. We had a local MHK, but Walter left us too. So with no opposition, he could save a bob or two. The next became an MLC and joined the cocktail set. And now from north, we'll wait and see if wind is what we get. The tourists, they don't come here. Well, there's not a lot to do. They can't go for a paddle because we've got no beach, it's true. And when I asked why it is the tide don't touch me round, the lame excuse I got was that the rest of you would drown. I sometimes wander up to the hills just to admire the view. This stranger, he was sitting there, I thought, admiring too. You're looking at the plains of heaven, no doubt, I proudly said. The 3:15 to Belfast, he said, just flew overhead. Our little chapel's gone, and there's no church with steeple high. So here we can't be married or be buried when we die. We've got no park, no pub, no prom, no school, no corner shop. We don't have parking problems, though, because no one wants to stop.
How beautiful.
Wonderful and beautifully read, John. Thank you so much for that. I think it seems like this is one of these places that if you are born here, you pretty much have to be able to perform, whether it's read a poem or sing or play a piano. You're all very talented here in Braaid, aren't you?
Well, we are live from the Braaid Hall this afternoon in the first of our Village Hall series, and we will be back just after this.